This is Ontario, land of trees and water. 70.5 million hectares of trees. An endless supply of timber for lumber and firewood. Come along with me on a journey of tree identification.
What's going on YouTube? This is Anthony and I'm doing, I guess this is the 4th edition of my Nature Walk Tree ID series, and I'm back up in Muskoka, Ontario, and my destination for today is either Arrowhead Provincial Park or Lookout Point at Algonquin. I'm not sure which one I'm going to go to because I don't have much time. One is a little further than the other, but we'll see. But anyways, I came back to the site where I did the first tree ID video, and I'm also going to go to the other place that I went. I make it a tradition to come back here every time and show the lovely view. So check it out. Next spot, which is just a quick stop to see this very special tree. And this is the #1 tree of the whole tree ID. This is my favorite tree out of any tree I've ever seen. This is a red maple. At first I thought it was a sugar maple until I actually got up close and looked at the bark. Look how beautiful this tree is. making our way into Arrowhead Provincial Park. We're gonna get to the big bend here. Let's begin the tree ID. Already, there's lots of maples. This is some good hardwood forest. But right in front, it's a red oak tree. Red oak, how do you tell the red oak? Well, you see that pattern? It's got the pointy edges and it differs from the other tree that's very common here, the other type of oak tree, which is the white oak. And what I heard before was that there used to be tons of white oaks and not as many red oaks, but because of all the harvesting for lumber, that's why there's more red oaks. Over here, this is a cherry tree. And you can see the bark, it looks like it's peeling. And it's kind of all over the place. It doesn't have like nice ridges. Like see, for example, over here, this tree is, I believe this is swamp white oak. Now you can see these leaves have a different shape than the regular oak leaf. It's a little bit similar in terms that it's long and narrow somewhat, but it is different. And this actually, no, this might be chinquapin oak. Yeah, but anyways, like I said, you see the ridges. The cherry doesn't grow like that. And you can see these sideways slits on the cherry. If you look at the leaves, now this is signature how fruit trees have their leaves. This is what the leaves look like. Different variations for different types of fruit trees, but they just have a different look from the regular trees. I'm just used to it. That's what I noticed because I've been looking at trees for so long. And here's the obvious white birch or paper birch, and it's not to be confused with poplar. Poplar can look the same, but it's pale, and sometimes they actually grow like a darker section of bark, and then it's very gray, and they have like ridges or ribs on them. And apparently they're the same family of tree. In this cluster here, these two are sugar maple, and this is different because sugar maple usually doesn't have symmetrical ridges, or I shouldn't say symmetrical, but consistent ridges. Now you can see up there the leaves on the tree. Going beyond this set of branches right in front, you look up there, and you can see it's the sugar maple. And yes, this one has a lot of very consistent ridging on it, whereas normally you'd see them and they'd be kind of smooth barked, or relatively anyway. And this is another set of sugar maple here as well. Okay, let's continue on into the forest through these ferns. We're going to be getting to the nice view very soon, guys. And this is a hardwood documentary, or a hardwood tree ID video. So I'm not really looking for the softwoods. I don't get into the softwoods because I sell firewood and I sell hardwood. I do not sell softwood. So I can tell the difference between some trees, but sometimes not the different types of species. Like for example, this one's a white pine. There's red pine, there's Scotch pine, and there's all kinds of other different pines. This one is, this is a poplar. Pretty dead, and you can see this one doesn't have the like pale white coloring to the bark. That's what I didn't mention about the birch trees, or to elaborate more on the difference between the birch trees. Usually these ones will have like a yellowish color when they have the smooth bark, but this one, it's got the ridging and it's going all the way up, and you can tell that one section just before the branches start, that looks more signature like poplar. Lots of ferns down here. What's these? Is that from a woodpecker? Not sure. But you see the birch trees, they often rot. And what happens is, once they rot inside, the bark is really good for keeping the moisture inside the tree, and the tree can't dry out. So it just rots out inside. I've been anticipating how bright the colors would be this year, and I haven't really thought about that when I've been looking at the trees so far. See, here's some more sugar maple with the smoother bark. But What happened was when I did the ID videos in the year before and the year before that, I had some really brilliant colors actually in 2020 before I was doing the tree ID. There's some more birch, of course. And the colors were really bright. And then the next year they were very dull. And it's because we had an extremely hot summer. Someone told me that's why the tree color goes dull. And I actually heard that on the news too. I saw a news article about it. What's happened here? I guess this is a sugar maple that's rotted. And these sugar maples can rot too. And last year the colors, they came back, but they weren't as bright as I remember in 2020. So 2021 not so great at all, and then 2022 they were good, and now this year I'm still a little early for the season. There could be more brighter colors. Obviously you could see some of these maples, they haven't changed color yet. I see some elm here growing from this tree, this skinny one here. You could see those elm leaves, and they've got that diamond shape with the serrated edges. That's just a small one. But here we have a big red oak tree. See if I can get around here. And this is a really mature red oak tree because the bark is actually thick. And you can see it goes in about halfway to my first thumb joint. That's how deep these ridges are. Very mature. And this one's pretty dead. There's some leaves up at the top. And the leaves on the oak trees, they don't change for a while. They kind of change towards the end. And what's this one here? Is this one a... What is this? Is this a sugar maple? Some of these trees it's hard to tell because you've got trees growing around. I don't think so. I think all these leaves are coming from these two trees here. But this tree looks dead up at the top and you can't see any branches coming off of it whatsoever. But that might be another poplar actually. Look at these nice bright maples over here. We're getting close to the view, guys, but I'm not going to take you there yet. And there's a lot of birch in this forest actually. Quite a lot. Birch and sugar maple and the odd oak so far. A little bit of cherry too. Another sugar maple here. This is the ones that got that nice orange color. They're probably going to turn a lot more red than that. Got some more white pines. And along the edge here, yeah, a lot of birch. I've never seen so much birch in one area. Yeah, here's another sugar maple. And sometimes you will see the bark peel off like that. Or is this a silver maple? I can barely see the leaves way up there. Yeah, that's a sugar maple. But this is looking a lot like a silver maple, which can look like it has these tabs that pull off. But because I'm experienced, I could tell that it's not a silver maple. But because it did look kind of like one, I had to try and verify. Nothing different here, guys. I'm scanning. Everything looks the same. Here's another cherry. This one looks a little different than the other one because the bark looks like it's longer strips. The other one just looked like it curled everywhere. And that's something I would notice. Never mind. And what is this one? That doesn't look very familiar. Is this a big tooth aspen? Because there's one of those where you could see a lot of the serrated edges. They're really pronounced on these ones. It's not like the regular poplars, which just have like kind of the smooth edges. Maybe that's what that is. If that is, I've never seen one of those before. Yeah, look at all these different colors with the maples. You got the red and then you got the orange here. You got the like, I don't even know what you call that, rouge maybe? Pinkish rouge. Yeah, so this park, there's all kinds of areas where you can park. And you can walk around. There's a couple lakes around here. So there's lots of places that we could do some more ID around here. But I'm a little bit pressed for time. I'm not going to be here much longer because I'm going to go to the last site, which is Lions Lookout in Huntsville, and experience sunset there. Let's take a look over here. What do we see? Come on, give me something different. There's another poplar. You could see the small leaves way up there. And the poplars really grow straight. And here's another one here. If you can recognize some other tree species because of their colors, you're not going to see them yet because it's the maples mostly that have turned. Now, even if you look at the birch trees, they haven't turned. The poplar trees, they haven't turned yet. And like I said, the oak trees, they haven't turned yet either. You can't get away with that and try to find some trees just by looking in the distance to find anything new. Here's another big poplar going straight up like a stick man. Leaves going out, or sorry, the branches going out like 45-degree angle pretty much. I'm not even seeing any silver maples here. And the silver maples, how you can tell those ones, is they have a nice like deep rouge color. They don't get that bright red that you see. It's almost like a purplish color. And on my way up here, I was seeing there was a bunch of patches of silver maple. And you could just see that nice rouge color, that deep rouge color in patches of the forest, right beside the sugar maples too, so you can see the distinct difference. Okay, and we're gonna get up to the main viewpoint here. You ready for this? The Big East River, which flows from Algonquin Park, is eroding the delta you are standing on, and has exposed horizontal lines, which are layers of sand and silt laid down by a glacier river 12,000 years ago. Very little vegetation grows on the constantly changing exposed delta. Trees fall over the edge as the sand is continually pulled out from under them. Sand continues to be carried in the Big East River. The sand will eventually end up in the mouth of Lake Vernon near Huntsville. It says the current flows faster on the outside of the curve, eroding into the bank and carrying sand downstream. On the inside of the curve, the currents are slower, causing sand grains in the river to be dumped and form a sandbar. You can see the sandbar on the opposite side as it goes through. It's very shallow on the inside edge. 12,000 years ago, the spot where you are now standing was underwater and a delta was forming beneath your feet. Behind you in the distance was the melting glacier full of rock, gravel, and sand. The meltwaters from the ice mass formed Glacial Lake Algonquin in front of it. A muddy, braided glacial river ran from the ice carrying huge amounts of sand and silt. As the river collided with Lake Algonquin, it was forced to slow down and drop its load of sand and silt. Eventually the ice melted and Lake Algonquin drained away to form present-day Lake Huron. So wow, this massive lake, Lake Algonquin, was bigger than the Great Lakes, or some of the Great Lakes. Over 10,000 years, the Big East River gradually carved into the valley to a depth of 23 meters, exposing the sand layers of the delta. Okay, on to the final spot. You might have some issue with the video footage because I have a friend here with his drone and he says he crashed it into the trees here, and he said the propellers are damaged and he has to check if he has the box with the spare propellers. So hopefully we can get that drone back in action, because we're going to the best spot for the drone. Sun's a little low for my liking, but it should be shining nice on the backside of the hill, which is the best view here, in my opinion anyway. But you can see the whole town of Huntsville below once we get up onto the top. The colors are really nice, guys. I told you that I was looking at the colors to see they're nice and bright, and sure enough, they're nice and bright. I wish we had a little bit more sun. So this is one of the original sites where I did my tree ID. And I found a bunch of ironwoods in here alongside the sugar maples and oaks, and even a sassafras. And that's new for me because I've never seen one before. This is an amazing view here, guys.
I wouldn't trade Ontario for the world. I first learned the waters, and then I learned the trees. What's next? The rock that formed this majestic landscape? I'll be back next year at a new location for tree identification, as well as visiting these beautiful sites. Same bat time, same bat channel. I hope you learned and enjoyed. Thanks for watching.